Hello and welcome to the Money Desk. I'm Aviwe Mtila, bringing you all things money. Let's take start here. Last year, South Africa experienced the closure of over 100 businesses, reflecting a significant 35% increase from the same period in the previous year. Now, many companies are struggling financially and might have to consider formal rescue or even shutting down. How is our regulatory and legal landscape set up to deal with this? Belinda Scriba is a director in our dispute resolution practice at Cliff Decker Hofmeyer and joins us now. Belinda, thank you very much for your time this evening. Let's start with tracing the developments of business rescue frameworks in South Africa and how the process has been used by businesses in distress.
Thank you for having me on, and thank you to your listeners also. Business rescue it seems like a relatively new concept, and it came into our Companies Act when it was adopted in 2011. But it's rescuing businesses is not something that is a new concept to South African company law. Before business rescue, in our company law, we had something called judicial management, which was designed to do something very similar to what business rescue is supposed to do now, in that if a company was in distress, but it wasn't so distressed that it required liquidation, then it could go under judicial management, and the judicial managers were then tasked to try and bring the business back to solvency and allow it to start trading back in circumstances where it was able to pay its debts and still keep running without going into liquidation. Unfortunately, it was quite a cumbersome process, and as a result, it actually was viewed as a failure. It wasn't really working, and I think that's why the concept of business rescue, as it evolved and came into our new Companies Act, was quite revolutionary for South Africa, in that it took away a lot of the clunkiness that judicial management had. So it's not new, it's not a new concept, just the way that we implement it now has got a lot better and a lot more efficient than it was under the old Companies Act.
Maybe take us through.
I hope that answers your question.
It does partly, but maybe just take us through some of the milestones in the implementation of business rescue, the key moments in South Africa's corporate history where business rescue has made a significant impact. Is liquidation also a viable option as well?
Well, it very much depends on where the companies are at when they go into financial distress. So if the companies are in financial distress, but there still seems to be some room to rescue it, then the business rescue is a fantastic tool in which to use it. If you allow the company to go too far down the distressed line, then sometimes there is no other avenue but to consider liquidation. But liquidation, unfortunately, is very much seen as a nail in the coffin of the business. So if a business goes into liquidation, it is highly unlikely that that business is going to survive. And the purpose of liquidation is to get the best return for creditors that the liquidators can get. So their purpose is to dispose of and actually wind down the business for the best advantage for creditors, whereas business rescue is seen as an advantage for everyone that is involved in the process. So if the business is successfully rescued, then creditors are going to get hopefully most of, if not all of their money, or more than they would in liquidation. The business can hopefully carry on trading after it comes out to business rescue, which means that you've still got employment, you've still got a viable business that's going. So the milestones are that business rescue was amazing in that it is a much more fluid process, and it's a process that allows for the business to continue trading if the business rescue conditions allow for it. And what's really nice with business rescue now, whereas you didn't have with judicial management, is a company can actually place itself into business rescue, and it doesn't require court proceedings. So that's one of the biggest milestones, I think, of business rescue, is that a company can do that on its own without actually having to go to court to do it. Because one of the issues with judicial management is the courts were very, very strict about measuring whether judicial management would be more successful than liquidation.
Belinda took us through the socio-economic impact and, importantly, the role of business rescue in job preservation and economic stability.
Well, I think I've touched on it a little bit in that business rescue one of the main aims of business rescue is to make sure, if possible, the company can trade out of financial distress. What that does in and of itself is it saves the business, it saves jobs, and obviously then also longevity for employees going forward. And it reaffirms one of the principles under our New Companies Act was to use companies to generate our economy and to enhance our social benefits. And I think business rescue speaks exactly into that. If it is possible to rescue a company, then let's allow these companies to have the tools to enable them to do that. And that's what the business rescue provisions under the Companies Act were meant to provide. And I think for a lot of companies, they do, and they have proved quite successful. We've had some massive success stories. We've had African Bank was a big success story. We had Ster-Kinekor. I know there's a lot of issues around Ster-Kinekor right now, but what people need to remember with Ster-Kinekor is if they'd gone into liquidation, there wouldn't be a Ster-Kinekor. There wouldn't be any jobs that would have survived that process. So there are some successful rescues, and the process has been working.
And we mentioned in the intro, of course, the 100 businesses that closed last year. How are things looking like this year?
Unfortunately, and I don't think it's just a South African thing, it's a global thing, right? There is a lot of pressure right now on not even just small SMEs, but on huge companies at the moment. You're seeing a lot of retrenchments. You're seeing a lot of global companies that are letting go of people right now. So I think at the moment you're going to see a lot of companies trying to just survive economically, but you might see an uptake again in business rescues just because companies are going to reach a point where they need the protection required under business rescue to survive the massive economic downturn that everyone's experiencing right now. And South Africa is particularly difficult right now with a lot of our own issues. So hopefully there will not be a massive uptake and closure of businesses, and hopefully the businesses will place themselves in business rescue before they have to reach that stage, so that rescue practitioners can do their best to try see if they can rescue business. The key to business rescue is to recognize quite early that there is a possible distress situation, and if you place yourself in business rescue early enough, then there is a prospect of trying to save that business, and that is the main aim of the business rescue practitioners. And if companies are a bit wary about whether or not they are in that stage, and they can always seek advice. And it's much better to get that advice now than to wait and then actually end up in a liquidation and winding down scenario.
Belinda, thank you very much for your time and your insights. Belinda Scriba is a director in our dispute resolution practice at Cliff Decker Hofmeyer. All right, let's